Recently, Ben Shapiro has come to the United Kingdom, has come to London, to Cambridge, to Oxford. And this individual, Ben Shapiro, who's known who I am for a very long time, and who's tried to engage me in scurrying along from time to time, and who's used as an intellectual human shield, Jordan Peterson and Piers Morgan and other people, to try and avoid dealing with me directly. This individual, in his usual manner, has gone to engage the undergrads, the college students. Yes, and in fact, those college students dealt with him in a manner which gave him a run for his money.
You are either that deluded or you are lying. So I think you are lying. No one is that deluded. Because Ben Shapiro obliterated these students. Okay. And how we know? Even the students stand there in embarrassment. You saying that the students won this exchange, not even you believe that.
I did look into this morning, and can I please get one answer before you leave, because this is an interesting conversation. Which part of Israel is occupied Palestine?
All of Israel?
There we go. There we go. There we go. So what you're calling for is the obliteration of the state of Israel, and all of this is just a cover for that. I appreciate your time.
And now, like,
Israel has not
if Israel put down its guns tomorrow, there would be
if
Israel put down its guns tomorrow, there would be a second Holocaust. If the Palestinians put down their guns tomorrow, there would be a Palestinian state. That is the reality. And let me ask you this.
There would not be a Palestinian
settlement. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you the last question. The same question I asked her. Which part of Palestine is occupied?
The entirety of Palestine, but I'm not calling for the destruction of Jews.
I appreciate you expressing your full genocidal intent for the Jewish people living between the river.
Why is it genocidal to call for?
You have recently been discussing a lot about the history of the occupation of Palestine. I will call it that. I know you will oppose that, but I will call it that. The occupation of Palestine.
The whole thing, right? Just to be clear?
The entirety of Palestine.
Thank you.
You may accuse me of genocide if you wish. That is not my position.
Sure. And I will, but go ahead.
Anyway, second point that you have phrased constantly and consistently, and it's quite a popular Zionist talking point, is the fact that the Arabs have rejected peace every time it was offered to them. Now, I would like, of course, there's been multiple times where peace has been offered, so let's discuss some of them. The Peel Commission. The Peel Commission entailed expelling multiple Arab families and multiple Arab communities, largely agrarian, from the land in order to create a Jewish state under a colonial authority. Now, I understand, of course, you are a Zionist, so you believe that's desirable. But for the Palestinian farmers, I can imagine they would not have enjoyed that. You have lied multiple times. I can continue if you would wish, but I would like to ask you the question. When you lie, do you feel shame?
Okay, so talking about the Peel Commission. If the idea is that there would have to be a separation of populations in order to effectuate a two-state solution, which you deny, then I was right. Of course, there was a deal on the table. The Jews accepted it. The Arabs rejected it. So you did not actually undermine my case.
In his diary, there should be no deal in the first place. In his diary states.
Hold on. I listened to your whole bullshit history for like 5 minutes here. So at least let me respond to it. Your entire claim is that the Arabs did not reject peace, and then in your own disquisition, you admitted that the Arabs rejected the Peel Commission plan, which was a separation between the Jews and the Arabs, which gave an extraordinary amount of land to the Arabs. The Arabs then rejected the peace partition plan proposed by the United Nations in 1947. They then proceeded to reject the Oslo Accords in 93. After that, they rejected the Wye River Accords in 98. They rejected Ehud Barak's very generous offer in 2000. They rejected Olmert's very generous offer in 2008. Every single peace deal that has been proposed by Israel or anyone else has been rejected by the Arabs for a very simple reason, which was the very first question I asked you. You do not accept that there should be a Jewish state anywhere in this region. So as long as that's the case, there's literally nothing to argue about. You cannot simultaneously maintain the position there should not be a Jewish state anywhere in the region and then tell me that I'm wrong when I say that the Arabs will not accept a two-state solution. You yourself say that there should not be a two-state solution.
So the first point I'll firstly address the last point that you made about the Palestine and whether there should be a
borders. And what you have to understand that this cannot be scapegoated on Hamas, because before Hamas's existence, this was still going on. This was going on before Israel's existence.
But do you believe in a two-state solution?
No, I believe in... Look, even Hamas was proposing a two-state solution.
But do you believe in it?
Look, there's advantages and disadvantages. This is a different... Why are you stuttering?
Why stuttering?
I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult one. I'll be honest
Could you
with
imagine two states next to each other living in peace? Palestine, Israel.
Look, it's a possibility. I mean, as I say, even Hamas was saying that that's a possibility. You are a liar. We don't need to pretend, oh, two-state solution. Do you think for me to say, I actually believe that the way in which Israel established itself in the first place is completely oppressive and illegitimate? You think that makes me an anti-Semite? Wallahi, if that makes me an anti-Semite, I'm happy to be labeled as such. As I say, even Hamas was saying that that's a possibility. You are a liar, and you are all liars.
Hamas accepts the possibility to gain more ground and further the assault on Israel.
That's really what's going on, isn't it?
Radical Islamists like Hamas and Mohammed Hijab historically sabotage a two-state solution and the prospect to alleviate Palestinian suffering because that will compromise the political cause of Allah in this world. Instead, they will orchestrate and use Palestinian suffering to advance their political agenda. Islamists like Mohammed Hijab will keep using the death and suffering of Palestinians to gain propaganda points over Israel. They will keep plan and capitalize Palestinian blood and tears for their imperialistic agenda.
Save Palestinians from Islamists, the only true enemy they ever had. The rest of the world wants and always wanted to help Palestinians.
Israel is justified in killing civilians because of the acts of terror committed by Hamas. Why isn't Hamas justified in doing what it did? Because Israel is keeping 13,000 children. It has tried them in military courts. Since the establishment of Israel, 55,000 Palestinian homes have been bulldozed. So why isn't Hamas justified in doing what it did if we use your logic?
So I'm going to answer your question, then I'm going to ask you a question if you don't mind. Is that all right? So my answer is that Israel would not be justified in killing Palestinian civilians because of the actions of terrorists. Israel would be justified in attempting to kill terrorists, and civilian casualties are a cost of war. That is just a reality of life. During World War II, there were 70,000 Brits who died during the Blitz bombing, and there were 2 million Germans who died, civilians who died during World War II. And I don't see a lot of monuments in Britain because of the 2 million civilians who died in Germany. The costs of war are brutal, they're terrible. They're horrifying. There's a vast difference in moral scope between deliberately going into a civilian area and murdering everyone you can find and trying to kill a terrorist who is deliberately hiding beneath a civilian area, hiding their rockets in civilian areas, starving their own people. There is a vast difference. Okay, so now I get to ask my question, if you don't mind. So my question is, do you believe that there is a moral difference between Hamas going into, for example, Kfar Aza and murdering entire families, and Israel attempting to target terrorists and accidentally hitting civilians?
Israel is effectively doing the same because Gaza is the most densely populated region in the world. There are 15,000 people per square mile.
So does Hamas get immunity because they're there? So Hamas gets immunity. So
Israel has killed 3,500 children in the past 3 weeks. That's more children. That's more children than have died in conflicts around the world in each of the last 4 years.
So just to be clear, your logic is that if you're a terrorist group located in a densely populated community and you hide behind civilians, you are now immune.
Where are the children meant to go?
So you're immune. Okay. That's a violation of the Geneva Conventions, but okay. You're now immune. Your logic is that if you're a Hamas terrorist...
Sorry, since 2005, 23 out of every 24 conflict deaths have been Palestinian. I don't see any moral equivalency there. It's clearly unjust what the IDF has been doing to the Palestinians because there's a vast disparity between the number of Palestinians being killed and the number of Israelis.
I mean, I would certainly hope that Israel is killing more Hamas
This isn't
members.
A conflict. This isn't a conflict. This is one-sided ethnic cleansing.
So, again, I'm just asking you, if based on the numbers, more Germans died than Brits in World War II, did that mean that the British were wrong in World War II? Because they did. Many more Germans died than Brits. Based on the numbers, does that mean that Britain was wrong in World War II?
Britain wasn't bombing civilians. There's a clear difference.
You should talk to the people in Dresden, but you can't because they're dead.
There's a clear difference. I agree that war is horrible, but this is not a just war.
Guys, this is how Mohammed Hijab perceives winning debates. No wonder then he thinks he won all the debates in his life. No wonder. So, now let's see how he ended Piers Morgan's career. Let's see.
But babies in the crib, sorry, what was the evidence for that?
You don't believe that happened?
Sorry, CNN, the White House, Sky News, which you work for, all say...
I don't work for Sky News.
Well, your thing...
I did work at CNN. I saw one reporter who retracted it because she wasn't sure about the source.
It's unconfirmed by the White House.
But then the Daily Telegraph and the Jerusalem Post and other sources then did publish pictures,
CNN,
which indisputably show babies have been killed.
No, it showed one baby who's been charred, and that picture has been put up on Twitter and has been refuted by many people saying that it's actually AI.
That's completely untrue.
That is true. What's your source? What's your source?
There's been a thorough investigation into the claim that was put up there by some rogue person on Twitter that it was AI. It has been completely disproven.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
That picture, which was published on the Telegraph, is a genuine, legitimate picture.
What is your source?
Mohammed Hijab asks, what's your source? His source is a tweet, guys. His source is a tweet. Obviously, we all now know that this tweet was fabricated. So,
Mohammed Hijab just denied that Hamas murdered babies on Piers Morgan.
They're killing babies in their cribs. We can agree that's war crime, right?
Okay, babies...
Can we?
Surely, of course, 100%.
Right.
But babies in the crib, sorry, what was the evidence for that?
Here's the evidence.
The Daily Telegraph and the Jerusalem Post and other sources then did publish pictures,
CNN,
which indisputably show babies have been killed.
No, it showed one baby who's been charred.
No, not one, many. But we've had to pixelate them as they are so graphic.
And that picture has been put up on Twitter and has been refuted by many people saying that it's actually AI.
You want to talk about primary sources? We have signed affidavits from people who directly witnessed the horrifying scenes. Meanwhile, your so-called source for it being AI generated is this ridiculous tweet. This AI detector, the one that was used in the tweet, is practically useless. It couldn't even tell that this AI generated image of Elon Musk as a woman is fake. It's absolutely disgusting that Mohammed Hijab would go on Piers Morgan and provide cover for the butcherers of babies. Shame on you.
Telegraph said they had independently verified the picture, Mohammed.
No, excuse me.
If you're saying that their verification is wrong...
No, excuse me. Primary source in academia, I know you've done a journalism degree, which is, frankly, it's not relevant to what we're talking about here anyway.
Probably is to journalism, yeah.
No, it's not to this conflict, but we academics require primary source evidence in order to make it...
The Daily Telegraph said...
So, to understand the Greek tragedy of this fool, the Greek tragedy at this point, there are tons of primary evidence, photographs, witnesses, testimonies. Journalists actually show. The other time I saw in Greek news, IDF taking the Greek reporters to a meeting in a special location and showing them the photographs. So they have actually primary evidence. And what's your primary evidence? A tweet. So you are the academic that demands primary evidence from your room with a tweet. And people who actually see in front of them the evidence are the non-academics with no primary evidence.
I saw, unfortunately, you had to bring some pretty gruesome photos. And I have to say, I hope those photos aren't real, and I have my doubts because recently you posted an AI-generated image of a charred infant corpse.
No, I didn't. That is a lie. That is untrue. It was not an AI photo. It was not an AI photo. It was distributed by the Israeli government and the Prime Minister of Israel. It was verified by the United States government. That fake community note that said that it was an AI-generated photo was in fact taken down by Twitter because it was a fake community note. That is unfortunately not an AI-generated photo. I wish it were. It was a baby obliterated beyond recognition because it had been burned to death.
So is it the word of the IDF in Israel versus the word of
No, actually, it's the photo. It's the actual camera footage taken by GoPro cameras by Hamas terrorists as they invaded Israel proper.
Left them on the ropes. MashaAllah, some of the Muslim sisters and some of the other people there were giving some fantastic points which he didn't even know how to respond to. What I'm going to do now is just respond to a couple of those clips.
So we already compared your arguments with Ben Shapiro, and he would have obliterated you like he did the Muslim students because you had the same arguments. Okay. It's very unlikely an Islamist wins any debate exactly because they are simply liars and propagandists and they don't value truth. Israeli parliament watching videos of October 7th, according to Islamist propagandists, all that is a lie. They must have very good actors. Islamists, even that tried to turn around. They said, "Are you sure that was the event we're watching? I was told that was taken after they had been briefed about the losses in the Gaza operation."
Hamas is not a terrorist group.
Oh, it isn't, ma'am.
First of all, Hamas is not a terrorist group.
Hamas
is not a terrorist group.
What is it, like a motorcycle club?
It is a resistance that has been fuming for 75 years of colonialism, of occupation, of murder, of rape, of little children, of women. That's what they are. They are resistance.
Do you think Canada is a colonialist country too?
Everything that they do is justified.
Including what happened last week?
Every single thing they have done is justified.
Ma'am, there were children murdered, there were babies beheaded.
Babies beheaded, really? Please educate yourself.
Well,
please check the news, because as a news reporter, you gotta check the fucking news, because they said that shit was fake, okay? Multiple times. Different channels, even Biden himself, his ministers and his idiots said himself that news was fake.
Daniel, after exposing the moon landing as a hoax, and Jews are behind 9/11. Now from his living room exposes Israel's and Western media propaganda. They claim people were actually murdered in the recent Hamas terrorist attack in Israel. Yet, that cannot be furthest from the truth.
Israeli women saying that they gave us water, they gave us food, they gave us a place to sleep comfortably. They gave us clothes. They got them to cover up out of respect. This is actual women having interviews talking about when they were hostages or when they were taking in, when Hamas members were coming into their house. These are actual Israeli women
is the
saying
moon
this
landing
is how they were.
All over again.
Even at some point, a Hamas fighter told one of the women, "Can I have a banana to eat?" He asked if he could eat a banana that was in her home.
Today, Daniel discovered another conspiracy. Daniel said, "Suddenly, ISIS is back at the exact moment Israel claims Palestinians are ISIS. Gee, gorily, what are the odds, eh?"
Είναι στρατευμένος στις τάξεις του ISIS.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. مجاهد في سبيل الله في الدولة الإسلامية. حب من حب وكره من كره. نحن نعيش من أجل ديننا ونموت من أجل ديننا. الحمد لله. أخوكم عبد السلام انتقم من المسلمين. قتلت 3 سويدين الآن. الحمد لله.
Guys, I talked to many Muslims on Twitter. This is the narrative they believe. They just listen and believe without questioning the propagandist. So Mohammed Hijab and the Muslim influencers, exactly because in Islam the value of truth doesn't exist, it's all the value of promoting Islam. So they are simply liars, deceivers and propagandists, proudly. Okay. that is what their religion teaches them. And the Muslim masses eat their lies like sheep. Exactly, because that is what their religion teaches them. To not doubt, to just submit. Islam means surrender. So they surrender to everything Islam.
Everything must be scapegoated to Hamas. Even before Hamas was an entity, the terrorism narrative was still in force by the Israelis against the secular PLO. This cannot and it will not fly anymore.
Mohammed Hijab, after Hamas executed 1,000 plus Israelis, most of them civilians, women, children and elderly, indiscriminately, ISIS style, he won't tolerate the narrative terrorists being labeled to Hamas. Apparently for Mohammed Hijab, Hamas are freedom fighters. Yet the same idiot, after mocking the death of innocent Israelis, he will then cry humanitarian when Israelis strike back. No, Mohammed, you got it wrong. The times where you could mock, abuse, and kill Israelis and live happily ever after are over, as the president describes right now.
Once the Jewish people were stateless. Once the Jewish people were defenseless. No longer. Hamas will understand that by attacking us, they've made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come. The savage attacks that Hamas perpetrated against innocent Israelis are mind-boggling, slaughtering families in their homes, massacring hundreds of young people at an outdoor festival, kidnapping scores of women, children, and elderly, even Holocaust survivors. Hamas terrorists bound, burned, and executed children. They are savages. Hamas is ISIS. And just as the forces of civilizations united to defeat ISIS, the forces of civilization must support Israel in defeating Hamas. In fighting Hamas, Israel is not only fighting for its own people, it is fighting for every country that stands against barbarism.